But yeah, let's talk about which teams have a legit shot at the Super Bowl, Kyle.
All right. So let's start in the AFC South. I don't have any team.
I've got 0 teams from the AFC South. And that's not a knock on anybody. I just think if we were to have a team, like if you're asking me, you have to have a team from each division, I'm going Texans, but even the Texans, like I don't think they're ready yet. The offensive line is rough. And I won't get too much into the weeds about the AFC South and the Texans because we are going to talk about them here in a bit. But if you ask me if I had to have a team, I'm going Texans. But we're not doing that. I've got 0 teams from the AFC South.
AFC North. I have 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Ravens. That's my only team I'm going from the North.
I'm going to go Ravens and Steelers.
You're crazy. You're insane.
Maybe. And I am known to be wrong about some things. I can't be right every time. But the reason I'm going Steelers is the simple fact that if you look at the history of the NFL and the Achilles injury, whether it's young players like Saquon Barkley or older players like Rodgers, it is normal for that first year coming back from an Achilles to be a mediocre season, and the following year to actually be much, much better. The player kind of forgets about the Achilles. Time passes. They're not scared. That final 3 games that Aaron Rodgers played, Jets fans were like, where was this all season long?
Yeah. I think even we were saying that. We're like, where the fuck is this Aaron Rodgers led offense been?
It was totally different. And it occurred to me that it was the Achilles injury. Enough time had passed where Aaron Rodgers was starting to feel comfortable out there on the field. Aaron Rodgers is going to have a similar season, I think, that Brett Favre had in Minnesota.
Okay.
I look at the team that the Steelers had. I know how bad Russell Wilson is. Trust me. The Broncos were able to get to 8-9 with Russ. The Steelers were able to get to 10 wins. And mind you, Justin Fields played a role in that, but it's not like when Justin Fields was on the field, he was amazing. I mean, there's a reason they went to Russ and didn't go back to Fields. So overall, we have 2 mediocre, below mediocre quarterbacks dragging a team to double-digit wins at one point. We're talking about a team that's 12-2. And the Aaron Rodgers, I mean, if he can stay healthy in the last stretch that we saw is what we're getting this year, I'm going to say the Steelers have a real opportunity. And then the Ravens, you know, for obvious reasons. We don't really need to convince anybody on that. They've been
Derrick Henry, fucking Lamar Jackson, the defense, it's all there.
Go AFC East. I got 1.
I think we both know which one we both have, and that's the Bills. The Bills, I mean, they have Josh Allen. They've got some weapons on offense. They've got a defense that I don't really know what to make of the defense. Like it's decent, but I don't know if it's like a Ravens, a Steelers defense, you know, like in terms of the AFC. Because
I mean, yeah, I'm with you. I think New England's going to be really good this year. I don't think they're going to go to a Super Bowl, but I think they could have the kind of success you saw Denver have last year. They don't have as complete of a team as Denver, so I don't expect as much success, but we're definitely getting to the 8-9 win mark, I believe, with
I can see that.
Patriots. The Jets, I'm all out, you know.
It's so easy. It's so easy to be out on the Jets right now. It is.
Yeah, and then the Dolphins, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like they caught lightning in a bottle a couple years ago, and unfortunately, it was more of a lightning in a bottle than an actual new way of life in Miami. Says, let's go to the AFC West. I got Denver as one of these teams that can go all the way this year.
Surprise.
Actually, last year I didn't. I had them as a playoff team. This team is going to catch a lot of people by surprise. There's just a lot of people that don't think that Denver's that type of a team, but I'll remind you, 2010, 2011, I believe, the Seattle Seahawks went to the Super Bowl with a quarterback on a rookie contract going into his second year with the Legion of Boom. And this Denver defense is going to be one of the defenses that's going to get a title. It's going to be talked about, the 2025 Denver defense. This is going to be a historic defense. And Bo Nix taking that next step. He's confident. He's, audibling out of plays Sean's calling in practice just to fuck with him. He's got like this kind of swagger about him because he actually understands what he's doing. And this is going to be a great, remember, he didn't throw a touchdown pass till week 4. But from week 4 to the rest of the season, he averaged 2.4. He's on pace for 38 touchdowns on a full season. I think this year you're going to see Bo Nix throw around 38 touchdown passes. I think you're going to see him go over 4,000 yards. I think this defense is going to be historically good.
Broncos defense, Jahdae Barron, Surtain, Zach Allen, Benito. These guys are becoming, and Surtain has already been a household name for a couple of years now. But these guys, this defense is becoming one that, like you said, is going to be one that's a feared defense. 100% is going to be a feared defense. The concerns for me and why I don't have them in a team with a legitimate Super Bowl shot is the running back. J.K. Dobbins, you bring in a veteran, and you draft R.J. Harvey. I like it because the Denver Broncos front office understood where the weaknesses were. Not only that, but tight end. You bring in Evan Ingram, a guy who's been killing it so far at the tight end position with a somewhat mediocre team in the Jaguars. You immediately upgrade that position. And we've already talked about the woes in terms of the tight end position for the Broncos. We've talked about that ad nauseum on this show for a few episodes. So the Denver Broncos knew what was going on. You talk about the depth for the wide receivers. That's also a bit of a concern, but as long as Courtland Sutton and Mims are both like healthy and contributing the way they need to contribute, like 1 and 2, they're going to be good. Obviously, you got a couple guys, a couple rookies from last year too that stepped out or kind of stepped onto the scene a bit in terms of like production, which is very promising. But for me, the AFC West, it really, to me, only has one team, and that's the Chiefs. The Chiefs have been doing it for years now. They've been doing it consistently, and while they may not have everything in place perfectly, Patrick Mahomes just does it. He just gets it done every year, it seems like. The Raiders are fucking far away from having a legitimate Super Bowl shot. Like, they are a culture shift away and just a lot of pieces away. The Chargers, they have the coach, they've got a quarterback, and they've got the culture. It's just actually performing in the playoffs, like actually not chargering is their only issues. They're like preventing them from winning a playoff game. So I don't even have them in that legitimate Super Bowl shot. But if the Broncos continue on this upward trend that they are on from last year with Bo Nix under that rookie contract, I wouldn't be surprised that they're in the AFC Championship game.
Let's talk NFC North right now.
Yeah,
all right.
Let's do it.
We got Caleb Williams, we got JJ McCarthy, we got Jordan Love, and we got Jared Goff.
Yep.
I think Jared Goff is better than all of those quarterbacks right now. Jared Goff, I think, is a top 7-8 quarterback in the NFL. Rarely gets that kind of a credit. I'm going to say, like, I got the Packers and the Lions kind of like neck and neck, and I have the Vikings and the Bears neck and neck.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about the Vikings and Bears, which is like potential is there, and there's a reason to believe, but I need to wait and see. And then I got the Lions and the Packers as like I've already seen, so I don't need to be prompted to believe. And they kept the most important pieces. I do think losing their offensive coordinator, it's going to hurt. I just don't think it's like detrimental, but I think it takes them from, winning 13, 14 games down to like 11.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of where Green Bay will end up, and maybe the Vikings and the Bears too. I'm not sure, but I'm going to go 2 teams from the North, Green Bay and Detroit.
Now, everybody here knows me, knows how highly critical I am of the Bears. And I'm actually going to apply that criticalness, if that's a word, to the NFC North. And I'm going to go, I've got 0 teams from the NFC North. 0 teams have a legit shot at the Super Bowl from the NFC North in my eyes. I was leaning towards the Lions just because of what they've done these past couple of years with Dan Campbell. Last year, they showed Lions, referring to the Lions, that they had they were locks to go into the Super Bowl. They're like, this is the best team. They have just, under Ben Johnson as offensive coordinator, they've had the most points scored per game. They've had a ton of yards per game. They lose him. They lose Aaron Glenn, and they lost their playoff game last year under Dan Campbell. They've got a new set of coordinators, a lot of the same guys. And I love Jared Goff, and I love his story from the Rams going to the Super Bowl, being traded because they just couldn't do it with him, to him getting his glow up in a sense with the Lions. Like, hey, you guys traded me, and I am still a top 10 quarterback. And I still believe that. I do believe Jared Goff is a top 10 quarterback. There's just something about the Lions after this offseason that I just can't get behind in terms of a Super Bowl contender. Again, for the NFC North, I've got 0 teams. The Lions have taken a huge hit in terms of coordinators, but I still see a lot of potential in the Lions. Like, they're going to be a playoff team in my eyes, really, at the end of the day.
The Bears?
No, the Lions.
Let's go to the NFC West. We got the Seahawks, the Cardinals, the Rams, and the 49ers. You guys know, and I'm gonna save this for Rick. I think the Rams can go to the Super Bowl. I feel like this right now. I feel like there's 2 teams that could do it.
And I think we have the same teams in mind. I'm going to say 49ers and Rams.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are my 2 teams. And even more than that, the Rams are my prediction for the NFC.
That's right. Yeah.
The NFC Super Bowl team, I think, is going to be the Rams this year. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the vibes. Did you know that there was a player, and I put it in my notes and I lost it, and it's on my phone, which is my camera, so I can't get it. But there was a player that retired from football because he went up against Jared Verse.
Taron Armstead, a retired NFL left tackle, jokingly stated that Jared Verse's playing style made it easier for him to retire. That's true.
So but for the Rams, I think they have a real shot to win it all.
Yeah, and again, we agree. I'm going Rams as well as the 49ers. Rams, Sean McVay. That's all you got to say. Those 2 words, Sean McVay. Like, and that's not even getting to Puka Nacua, to Jared Verse, Devontae Adams, and Stafford. Like, Sean McVay is one of those coaches where you give him a 3rd round quarterback, and you're like, that guy might be a guy this year because of Sean McVay. Now for the 49ers, God, why am I forgetting this? Shanahan. What's his first name? I forget his first name. Kyle Shanahan. Yes, it's Kyle Shanahan. So Kyle Shanahan, again, is one of those guys who has been at the Super Bowl a couple times already, has been to the playoffs multiple times, and he's done it with not Kaepernick, but Garoppolo. He had Trey Lance for a little bit there, and then he finally settled on Purdy, who just got paid. Yes, there's a lot of players that they unloaded this offseason, but Shanahan is, again, another coach who I think with less can still do quite a bit, and that's getting to the playoffs, I think, at minimum.
The NFC
Beast
East. I got two, and it's the Commanders and the Eagles.
Yep.
Commanders, even if they don't get anything figured out with Terry McLaurin, I still have them because of the type of team that they're. Jaden Daniels, man, I was blowing the Jaden Daniels horn before the draft, and there's no reason to back out now. He was awesome. Yeah. He was the clutchest quarterback on third down last year. He was able to go into the playoffs and like beat the Lions on the road and lost to the Eagles, but they ended up winning they got blown out by the Eagles. Let's call it.
They did. Yeah.
Right. They beat up on the Bucks, and then they beat a dismantled Lions team, and now everybody's crowning, Jaden Daniels is the second coming of Christ. For the Eagles, they lost their offensive coordinator. That hurts.
Yeah.
Get it? But it does.
I'm out of here.
They lose their offensive coordinator, but they still have Jalen Hurts, who's the heart and soul of that team. Yeah. And their defense, they had two rookies starting on defense last year. They're going to be better this year. Defensive line's in good shape with Jalen Carter is, anchoring it all together. And then AJ Brown and Devontae Smith are there with Saquon Barkley running it back. Why not?
Oh yeah.
This should be your NFC championship. Should be the Eagles and the Rams.
I've got the Commanders and the Eagles as the two teams from the NFC East that have a legitimate shot there. And I'll start with the Giants and the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys, obviously, they're going through their issues right now with Micah Parsons. They have Dak. They've got CeeDee Lamb. They got George Pickens there on the offense. The defense is going to be like somewhat of a question mark whether with what happens with Micah Parsons. I just don't think the Dallas Cowboys are there yet. I don't think they are. Again, we talked about the culture that Jerry Jones has set there. And also Schottenheimer is the head coach. Like what? Like even Cowboys fans, like they're hopeful, but even at that hiring, they're like, what was the thinking behind this? Giants, Bill, we love you forever. We will always love you. But the Giants right now,
Super Bowl.
You're right. Super Bowl. You're right. I have three teams from the NFC East. No, the Eagles, the Giants are going to struggle. They have
their quarterback.
Exactly. It's going to be
Russell Wilson.
But it's like Jackson Dart and then Jameis. Like you have a pretty decent quarterback room there. Like honestly, I wouldn't mind Jameis as a backup for the Bears at that point because he's just a freaking cool guy. Like everybody talks about how awesome Jameis Winston is, but I just don't see the Giants getting there. They've got issues at quarterback. They've got issues in general about how they're kind of run. And I don't see them as a team. Their defensive line, outstanding. With the Eagles and the Commanders, these are NFC championship game representatives. So to not go with them, I feel like is just kind of, counterintuitive in this conversation. The Commanders with Jane Daniels, if he's as good as he was last year, they're winning double-digit games and they're winning a playoff game, like guaranteed. The Eagles coming off a Super Bowl win, they're one of the best teams in football and have been the last year and even the year prior, 2 years ago, I should say, when they went to Super Bowl against the Chiefs again. So I still think the Eagles have that consistency, and they have turned over offensive coordinators time and time again. So I don't really see that as an issue because they've shown that consistency to be in the playoffs with a different offensive coordinator for 4 years straight, it seems like. And like you said, Jalen Hurts is the heartbeat of that team. They have proven that regardless of the coaching staff, regardless of the outside noise, they can get to the playoffs and show you why they're still one of the best NFC teams in the league.
The NFC South. For the NFC South, I'm going to go Tampa Bay. I'll go Tampa Bay.
Okay.
I need one more anyway to get to 12.
Mhm.
I had 3 in the AFC West. I have Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs. I think can all go to the Super Bowl this year. I feel like Tampa's the best team, but we see them struggle. We saw them struggle last year. Like they had to fight to get into the playoffs. They weren't one of those teams that separated themselves from a weak division.
Yeah.
They were kind of going back and forth with a Falcons team that was so bad they had to bench a quarterback they spent like $180 million on. And that's the team that was neck and neck with them. So it's easy to forget all that when you go into the playoffs and you win a game.
Yeah.
But I'm going to remember that. And I also think that a lot of the success they had was Liam Cohen, who was my favorite coach, and the Jaguars now have him as the head coach. The Saints are in a total rebuild. They are in cap hell. They have no quarterback answer. They drafted. We'll see what happens. They're going to probably be like a number 1, number 2 overall pick. The Falcons with Penix, like I said, 7-8 wins. They got a talented team, but this is also Kyle Pitts is like final year to show that he can be good. And it's like every year somebody that's drafting fantasy football is like, I shouldn't, but I'm going to do it.
Dude, Kyle Pitts went from like a 2nd, 3rd round option to like, yeah, I think I can get him in the 8th or 9th. Yeah, I think I can do that.
Kyle Pitts was supposed to be what Brock Bowers was for the Raiders. The Carolina Panthers, I'm picking to win the division. Bryce Young was incredible.
Wow.
And when he came off from being benched and he like hit puberty and grew like 10 years worth of experience. You know, when like you go through some shit in life and you're like, dude, you're different.
Yeah.
It's like I grew up. He's the most experienced young kid in the NFL. He's been the number 1 overall pick expectations. He's been benched. He's been revived.
I picked the Bucs to win this division, and if you guys haven't seen the NFC South division predictions, make sure that was our last week's episode, so go check that out. But even the Bucs winning the division, like, can they win a wild card playoff? Yeah, they can, right? I just don't know if they have the team to get to the Super Bowl. With Brady, it was just completely different. And a lot of the guys from that Brady Super Bowl with the Bucs are still there. Obviously, they're a little bit older, but I just don't know. I just don't think that they're there. I love Baker. I think Baker is a legitimate quarterback that should be considered in the top 10. Because he's just done really, really well after his time in Carolina and LA. Like he showed that, like, I'm still a good quarterback, even after the Browns dismissed him. I just don't know if they have the full team and the full staff culture, that combination. It's not there. Now, the Falcons, I got them 2nd in the division after the Bucs. They still have, like, Penix still has to prove that he's a quarterback that can lead the team. Like, we talked about this last year and you just talked about it right now. Like, he had some really good games and it seemed like, okay, I think you had a really good pick here with Penix, given the Kirk Cousins situation now with the Achilles and all that and his subpar play last year. But I just don't see any team from this division having a actual legit shot at the Super Bowl.